Oh, Jesus. Save me, please.
Ya. Listo, 10, ya. 1, 2, 3. Listo, ya.
Chopping away through the jungle.
Chopping away through there.
It's a big old tree, this one.
Sale en la página web.
¿Cómo se llama?
Aquí vive la casa de Chucky.
Chucky is
Espíritu.
an spirit of the jungle.
Sí, es problema.
¿No se rompe?
No.
Se resbala.
No, no se rompe.
Roll.
Okay, in a normal ayahuasca ceremony, and there's really no normal ayahuasca ceremony. That's one thing about ayahuasca ceremonies, is that they've got a very large, unpredictable dimension to them, which is what makes them so exciting, interesting, and also utilitarian, because it has a mystery factor in it. The shaman can direct it in a certain direction, can choose a direction in a person's body, can do a healing and adjustment within the first hour when the person is moving into trance. That's when you're the most malleable and you're the most open to suggestion. You can change the electricity of your body, change the balance of the energy through the body, open up blockages, and make things move through. So the ayahuasca is invited, along with the allied spirits, to go through the body to correct the whole energy field system by system and put things that are out of balance back in balance. Now, the physical counterpart and the emotional counterpart is as follows. When you first take the ayahuasca, it's going to go directly into your liver and your gallbladder, and you'll be sitting completely in the dark with everybody around you as basically silhouettes. You're not going to see faces. You're all silhouettes. And the shaman will come around you, adjust your body, adjust the electricity of your body, put a protection on you, and take another protection off of you so that you're open to the influences of the jungle and of the medicine. And the first symptoms you're going to get probably in the first 20 minutes is a little bit of discomfort and slight anxiety. That's when the medicine is in what we call the power chakra, which is the chakra down around the waist and the groin, right between the waist and the groin. You have what we call the center of the power chakra. That's the chakra or the center of energy in the body that's dedicated toward keeping control, maintaining security, and dominating its environment. Now that one's being tweaked at that point, at the very beginning. And the counterpart, yeah, go ahead.
Is that like where you get, people talk about that gut feeling? Is it like,
I would say, yeah, possibly they're talking about that. The gut feeling, usually of dread.
Yeah, a dread, or as the opposite of that, like a security, you know you've made the right decision or something. It comes from...
Right. Well, that's why we do it in the way we do it. We do it very systematically and conservatively. We give people a light dosage on the first ceremony. Okay, and then the second dosage, depending on the first, we hike them up. But to get back to what I was saying, you're going to have the symptoms of anxiety and some doubts about what you're doing, usually, the first time through, because you'll feel that nausea, you'll feel that you're slipping out of control. You don't know exactly where you are or who you're with, and your adrenal gland and also your conscious mind, which is a guardian. It's not a guard, it's a guardian. And sometimes the guardian is for keeping the riffraff out, right? Now a guard just, makes sure nothing happens to you. But a guardian, on the other hand, tries to sift through your company. Now the guardian is sifting through your company, and it's saying, hey, you're with dangerous people. You don't know what's going to happen. anything could happen. You might have a big problem. What are you going to do here? If they decide to put you in a pot. And so you'll get thoughts like that. And so that's why we give you a light dosage on the first round, so that you go through that, and then you pass from that into what we call the heart chakra, the emotional chakra. Now, when you go into the emotional chakra, you forget all about the danger you're in, and you worry about that. You were mean to your mom, you were mean to your dad, you were mean to your dog, and you were mean to your cat, and you were way too nice to that girl, and you were way too nice to that other guy, and you made all kinds of mistakes, and the things you should have done you didn't do, and the things you did, they were half-assed. You're getting down on yourself usually.
Yeah.
And then you break into the crown chakra, and the crown chakra, you're looking down on yourself from a detached distance. And you say, look at me, I make all kinds of mistakes. I waste all my time being worried about things that aren't even there. I waste all my time getting all spun up about people who don't even think about me, let alone be offended by me. But I'm occupied with that all the time. Said, but there's a solution for everything, and it's a lot simpler than you might think at first glance. You don't have to dedicate your life to dogs or cats in order to expiate your sins. You just call home and tell them that the food is in the pantry and put some out for the cat, and put some water out. Tell your mom that you'd like to have lunch with her when you get home, and tell your dad that you'd like to take him out to a movie or something. And call the girl you gave so much attention to and tell her that, sorry, daughter, but I'm going to be away for a couple months, but I'll give you a ring when I get back. And so, and then you just fix everything, and you do it in about 10 minutes, And then you get on with your life. Yeah, you figure out, okay, this is how I'm going to fix this, this is how I'm going to fix that. And now, let's get on to more interesting things, because we got some opportunity here. And so that's where the crown chakra comes in. Now, as a shaman, I go through that, of course, 5 times a week. But because I've done it 5,000 times already, and I do ayahuasca ceremonies mostly as healing work, so I have to work, and I have to be in the right frequency in order to do that. And so when I go into the ayahuasca ceremony, I, of course, take the first dosage. And by the time I get all the way around the circle, and I've dosed the last person, I'm usually quite well into beginning the trance. And then I get up and I bless the people and I go through it. And so what I do is I ride through the first phase. And the first phase, I usually have some thoughts of worry as well. I'll say, well, what's the matter? What went wrong? And what went wrong? I dose this guy too heavy. He's going to have trouble. I know I made a mistake on this one. And then I say to myself, you didn't make any mistakes. You never make mistakes. You did just exactly the right thing. So will you just ease up and pay attention, And so then I say, okay, we got it. I say, okay, we're gonna ride this out. Okay, then we say, well, now you go in and you want to pop into the emotional chakra. So I visualize my daughter's faces, and I visualize things that are really dear to my heart. And so that pulls me into my emotional chakra. And I just give that as obeisance, for about 10 minutes. And that's all you have to do. You just have to recognize that you have an emotional side to you, that you're not a robot and so on. You just have to admit that's the reality of the situation, and that's who I am. But let's not get overindulged about it, because we're doing a shamanic ceremony, we're shamanic healing tonight, we're not at a birthday party. And so then what we do is visualize the spirit allies, visualize the nature spirits, the celestial spirits, and the underworld spirits that are by your side and that are protecting you and helping you with your work. And so,
I'm sort of lost with fucking wanting to see how I can do it.
No worries, buddy. There's no rules around here. Things okay. And so then, when we get into the emotional chakra, we've given that its obeisance. We visualize the spirit guides, and that puts us up in the crown chakra, what we call the third eye. So you have second sight, you have vision, you're able to see auras. able to see through people, able to read minds, and able to intuit things from a distance. So just sit very still for about 10 minutes and breathe and let that settle in, let that settle in nice and heavy. And then stand up straight and careful so you don't let it slip. And then you move slowly and move from the hips, bend over too far. If you're going to bend over, you kneel down first and work out like this. And keep breathing steady and slow, and take it slow, take it real slow. You never feel rushed or hurried. And if somebody comes blasting by you with a flashlight in the middle of your process, you just sit back on your haunches and breathe and wait for a while until the light's gone and start over again. Because that broke up right in the middle. And then you just say, sure, there's 10 more people waiting, but you got to do each one right the first time around, because that's the only time when they're really receptive to being changed. After that, whatever you programmed in for the night is going to keep going, and if you tweak it again, it's going to just get in the way and confuse the system that's going on, the electrical adjustment that's going on. So that's like the ABCs of what happens in ayahuasca ceremony. Now, when people are on large dosages like you guys, things have a tendency to hit really hard and fast, and you'll get all three phases at once. Like you'll have the visions of the third eye, you'll have the emotions of the heart chakra, and you'll have the fear and anxiety of the power chakra all at once. Or you could have an enormous slide and gamut of emotions and ecstasy and horror, and we get that all the time. But
What about with some of the physical, the visions I was getting and what I was seeing? I mean, I could feel it physically happening. And even like last night, even though it was a much milder experience, my lips were vibrating. I mean, there was some portal of sound that opened up here, and it was almost like we could hear some sort of didgeridoo music that was humming, and my lips were vibrating. And it's like the night before with that huge purple laser beam coming into my head. It felt like a straw was penetrating my head, and everything was going cold, and I could feel this tube. I mean, what's happening with this physical sensation with the visions?
basically what's happening there is that those are metaphors and symbols of energy that's coming into you. And these are energies that are coming in because they're invited in by your inner energy. Okay? You've got all that energy inside of you. Okay? But it has its counterpart outside. Otherwise, it couldn't have its counterpart outside if it didn't come from a microcosm. It could not be in a macrocosm. Okay? That's why all of the gods and the concepts of gods and the images of gods come from inside the human psyche. But then they have an extrapolating effect. In other words, they go out and they come back. They go out and they come back. And in the meantime, they embellish. So what you're dealing with is basically electrical light and spectrum therapy. And it's enormous. It's phenomenal. You get into outer space, or you get into like hyperspeed, and then you'll see some colors. So that's what you're doing psychically. You're going into hyperspeed. You're going into hyperspeed. And when you go into hyperspeed, you call down all those spectrums on you. Now, all those spectrums are healing. They all come into in a very healing, powerful way. They all have their function. They all have their healing function. I can heal myself with just power meditations of light. You know, like I can bathe my whole body in yellow light, and purple light, and hold it for 10 minutes. And it'll clear up a lung problem, and clear up a stomach problem. So, knowing how to use spectrums of light are enormous. So, if you're having those kind of visions, especially with that sort of power that resonates directly with your nervous system and makes your lips palpitate, you know, or makes your eye bounce like that, you know, or maybe makes your knees go up and down, you know, all those things happen, and it activates the electrical system of the body, and it activates it fast and hard. Now that's why usually when you come out of a ceremony, you have a nice deep sleep and you won't have too many dreams. Because you've already dissipated all the rapid eye movement and all of that excess electricity has been dissipated. There's levels of shamanic work, but shamanic work is basically recognizable in all parts of our lives. You know, the ability to recognize that the spiritual, the emotional, and the visceral is really one package, and one doesn't work well without the other. And you've got to be able to fuse them all so that they work together. Now, anybody who tries to, that's why people try to do big tasks like, say, swimming way the fuck up river and pushing themselves beyond their limits, or sailing a boat across the ocean, because they know what's going to come there is a shamanic lesson, and they're going to come out as a much more centered, powerful person, multidimensional, and solution-oriented in any circumstance. And so we look for that when we're ripe for it. You know, like when we get to a certain point in our lives, we surround ourselves very carefully with just the right company and with the right influences. We design our lifestyle to something that's conducive to our evolution and our strength and our growth and our ability to serve. We put the lifestyle exactly into something we can live with and that we can be creative in and we can produce and we can work. And we come to that point when we're ready. And we work through an awful lot of excuses first about why we can't do it. You just can't do it. But once you get there, you know, and you take that step, you say, well, I'm going to put this exactly the way I can live with it. And anything that's not right, I'm going to marginalize it and replace it with something else. And so that's the beauty of our power on the planet. So this is my friend Dean. He's been here for a week and a half or 2 weeks. I don't know how many weeks, but anyhow, he's here. He's here with some other friends, and we're all getting along really well. They're having some beautiful ayahuasca sessions, so he just wants to say hello real quick. He did this recording for us.
Yeah, hi Scott, how are you? My name's Dean, I've come from Australia. I'm here at Refugio Altiplano with Scott and his wonderful staff, taking good care of us. We've had quite a few ayahuasca sessions, ceremonies, which has well and truly exceeded anything that I had any sort of expectation. Not that I came here with no expectations, but everything I've kind of heard and found out about it, it certainly is a journey into your inner self. And you get to look at all your previous experiences with a completely different perspective, and it's been a wonderful healing journey on many levels. Here with a great bunch of guys and girls enjoying the experience together. Thanks very much.